Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your two usual hosts here. We've got Tom Mannering.
Hello.
And myself, Josh Hartley. And we are joined this week by Dave Wright. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm very well, guys. Nice to see you. Well, I see you every other week, Josh, so it's not really that nice to see you. But nice to see you, Tom.
It's nice to have you on, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
So, long-time listeners will remember Dave from previous episodes. Dave is involved in... Oh, you've got fingers in a lot of pies. Tabletop Scotland.
Yes.
AlbaCon, which is coming up very shortly.
It is.
And you run my D&D group
Yes.
that I'm in. You've been writing RPG modules as well.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I had a Call of Cthulhu scenario go copper, which means over 50 individual sales. Over 50, so 51 plus, which I wrote in July, of which I've never... Before the 1st of July, before the 26th of June, I had never owned, nor run, nor played Call of Cthulhu. And I've been playing role-playing games for... How old am I now? 35 years.
Nice.
But for some stupid reason, I decided to write a Call of Cthulhu scenario. And people seem to like it.
Because I've said on the podcast a couple of times, Call of Cthulhu is my favourite one as well. I absolutely love the system and the setting. It's great for me. And yours sounds really interesting as well. We're definitely going to link it in the show notes. It's called the Oxford Papers, isn't it?
The Oxford Articles.
There we go.
Set in
Got it right.
Set in 1953, so before I was born, in the city of Oxford, which I've never been to. So yeah, there was a fair amount of research went into that. So yeah, no, that was good. I enjoyed doing it. It was an interesting challenge.
What I like about that is when Josh was reeling that off, right? He's like, AlbaCon, Tabletop Scotland, my D&D game, the Call of Cthulhu scenario you write.
It wasn't in order of importance, it was in order of Josh remembering.
It's fair.
Which is just a jumbled mess. Like, basically throw all the cards up in the air and see which ones land first.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You don't have any show notes then, that's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fairly evident. Case in point, we're still doing the "How's your week been?" sort of section of the show. So we'll start. Tom, how have you been this week?
I've been good, all things considered. Had a bit of a disappointing weekend, but the less said about that, the better. But no, I've been alright. I've had a couple of games. Obviously did the Twitch stream for ourselves on Sunday. And played some D&D, so I've been alright. Good.
And Dave, have you been up to much this week?
Well, I ran our D&D game last Tuesday, and on Friday I played in an Everon game I've been in since just over a year now, with Rich Green, who writes for Cobalt Press. And a few others from the kind of D&D UK community, like Pete Griffith and Ian Hawthorne, who you'll know, Tom. People like that. So a lot of good times been had, and that's my whiskey night when I'm playing that. So I drink whiskey while playing. I have a character that I play D&D, which is good fun.
Are you sort of are you a bit like me, Dave? Are you primarily a GM? And then
the eternal GM badge is kind of on me, but that's largely my own fault more than anything else, Tom. You know, I enjoy running games, so.
I bear that cross as well, mate. I know the pain, so it's nice when you get the odd night off.
Exactly. I'm sure Rich was hoping when we started this that we would do some sort of rotation, but he's been doing it for 12 months now, as I say, so he's not quite had that rotation happen yet. Anyway, Josh, sorry.
How has your week
been, Josh?
It's been good. We have a little bit of an announcement and congratulations. Long-time listeners will know of Callum Flint, aka Lanky Santa. He tied the knot this weekend with his wife, now Rachel Flint. So I was in attendance, and it was a lovely day. So just a big congratulations to those guys. Otherwise, I've not been up to much. Tell a lie. I attended my first in-store Magic the Gathering event yesterday, so that was cool.
Where was that?
We did a Geekaboo. They have just started them again.
In Glasgow?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you're up for the wedding, I suppose, so you weren't too far out.
Exactly. I popped there before I got on the train, so
priorities: wedding, magic. Home.
I was going to say, was it in that order? I hope it was in that order.
Yes.
Wedding, magic, back to the wedding.
I didn't try and play Magic the Gathering at the wedding, but no. So that was just nice to be back in store and play Magic the Gathering face to face as intended, as Richard Garfield intended. So, it was good stuff.
Is that the new set?
No, we did a Chaos Draft.
Ah, okay.
Those who are not familiar, a Chaos Draft is rather than draft booster packs from the same set like you're supposed to, you just get random packs, and your decks are always a mess because there's like no synergy or anything with them. So
you just you get a random set of cards ultimately, and it's up to you.
Yes, so it was good. Enjoyed it. I came 4th out of 8, so kind of average. So that's all right.
Became top 4. I mean, that's what you really should say.
I'm in the top 50%. There we go.
No, you don't even just top 4. You don't say how many are there. You say I came in the top 4, which is a good outcome, because even if then there were 4 players, you still look good.
The top 4.
There were 8 players, to be fair. So. But yeah, no. So it was good to get back to that, and yeah. Otherwise, not been up to much. Just been in my usual games. Looking forward to getting back into Star Wars tomorrow night. It's been a while. Tom is raising his arms in either victory or aping one of the Sand People from episode 4.
Either or. No, I'm quite looking forward to it. We've not done that for 2 months. I think it's been a while.
Yeah. So it'll be good to dive back into that. Anyway.
You still using Age of Rebellion, Age of Empire for that? Yeah, you still.
Yes, we started in Edge of the Empire, and then the initial session 0 was let's all be scoundrels and cutthroats and villains, and within about 6 sessions they were like, let's just be rebels.
Is that an easier life?
Yeah, made the transition to rebels so that they have someone telling them what to do.
It made sense for my character because I had the rebel droid inside me as well.
Indeed.
So
it's fair.
that's my defense. Also, yeah, kind of, it's easy to slip into being the good guys rather than being scoundrels constantly.
I think it's that. It's the fact that when you don't have a sort of line of command, you're having to make all the decisions yourself, and when you've got such an open platform like the Star Wars universe, that's a lot of choice to get paralysed by. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you've got a commander saying go here and do this, it gives you a choice, but within a much smaller sandpit rather than the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're even from a GM perspective, it's much easier to go, right, we need this done, go and do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than, right, okay, so what smuggling circles am I going to have them interacting with this week?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I get that. Totally get that.
Rightio. So moving on to the main topic then. AlbaCon is coming up the 2nd and 3rd of October. Dave has been... How long has the planning process gone in? We should actually start. AlbaCon is an online... I'm really organised. AlbaCon is an online RPG convention.
I'm sorry, Dave.
It's all right, Tom.
Hey, this is great. Shut up.
Do you want me to do this bit, Josh?
It's happening on the 2nd and 3rd of October.
I like that the guest has to ask Josh if he wants him to do it for him.
It was going fine until you started laughing at me.
Oh dear.
Am I wrong on anything that I've said?
No, you are
His
not.
Online RPG convention is happening on the 2nd and 3rd of October. Dave has been organising it. Tell me, how has the planning been going for that?
I'll go back to last year, actually.
Sure.
So last year, I think it was around about the March, April when we announced that we definitely weren't going to have Tabletop Scotland. And I was having a chat with my mate Mark, who he's an exclusively online role player. He's got friends in the States who now live there, and he plays online all the time. Mm-hmm. And he was saying to me, so why don't you just do something online instead? And I was like, okay, how would that work? And why would I do it? It's one thing to create an in-person event like Tabletop Scotland with the I was going to give them a name there, but I'll give their names, Duncan, John and Simon, to create that event. But then to do this was more about, I need more of a purpose. So we decided, let's make it for charity. Mm-hmm. Every single penny from tickets and otherwise was going to go to charity. So we need a charity. Mark's son is recovering from leukemia. And he was supported. Their family was supported by a charity called It's Good to Give. So it was an easy kind of let's make it It's Good to Give. Mm-hmm. So last year we ran over 70 games over a weekend and raised just over £3,000 for them, which was great because we didn't know what to expect. And that was roughly from the May, maybe the June really was when we kicked into action to the October last year. Mm-hmm. For this year, the plan the plan started probably around about the same time, May, June time, was when, it was like, right, we knew the dates was announced already. We knew who our charity partner was going to be, because we'd already discussed that as a group. And it was then just a question of, right, let's start ticking off some things from the list. Let's speak to the charity. Mm-hmm. Let's, send out some emails to the people who GM'd for us last year and various other things. And then start the shamelessly approaching as many publishers as you possibly can to get them to give you goodies to give away in the aid of charity. And that just kind of starts to organise itself because you start to steamroll from there into, right, we've got the games now, we need to get them online, when do we put tickets on sale, and all that kind of stuff. So we decided to go with Penumbra this year. So it's an online con, as you've highlighted, and we had people from 9 different countries, I think, last year take part. But we focused on a Scottish charity, much like we did last year. So Penumbra are a mental health support charity in Scotland. They're one of the biggest ones in Scotland. And they provide all sorts of support to people throughout the country. And I think there was an element of it was a really good fit for a variety of reasons amongst the team. But also, if anything, other than obviously the impact of COVID on people who have lost, it's also the fact that our mental health during the pandemic is probably taking a battering across everybody.
Yes.
Right. And we all know that role playing, certainly for those on this year, online has been a good outlet for that. To have that social contact. So it kind of became a very easy, straightforward fit of Penumbra, a mental health charity, and an online RPG convention. It just kind of made sense in a lot of respects, and they were delighted. I had to explain what it was, obviously, but fortunately I had dealt with them before through my day job, and I'd organised a board games event at work to raise money for them, and Sheena was like, okay, so it's like that, and I was like, well, kinda. but not really like that at all. But it was fine. They don't need to know what it is. They're just delighted that people are raising money for them, frankly. So yeah, that was kind of the initial parts of it. And as I say, it was really just, let's see where we can go with this, and let's see if we can get more games, more players, more sponsors. It wasn't so that we don't have to beat last year's target, that number even. That'd be lovely if we can. But it's just really about raising money for charity, right?
Oh, terrific! Yeah. And I'm having a look at the events. You can look online for the event schedule, and it is absolutely rammed. I'm eyeing up one of the D&D Adventure League epics, because I've never took part in one. So the schedule was the sort of thing. So at Tabletop Scotland, as you both know, we have quite a strong Adventurers League presence. I think we had 9 tables in every slot in 2019. So that would be 45 games. Whereas last year at AlbaCon, it was like, right, we've no idea if Adventurers League is going to work. It did, kind of. But for this year, we didn't do an epic last year. We decided to do 2 this year. So for those who don't know, an epic is an interactive event where traditionally you're all in the same room, and you're all playing the same adventure. Each table's playing the same adventure. Now, you might be playing that adventure at different levels of character. You might be playing that adventure in different, obviously with different DMs. But there are interactive elements which could be roaming NPCs or specific events that occur, or in the case of one of them, not one of the ones we're running at AlbaCon, you all have to sing a song. Excellent.
And we had that one at Tabletop Scotland in 2019, and that was the one for the Waterdeep Dragon House storyline, which is now dropped out of my head. Last orders at the Yawning Portal, that's it. And because we'd never run one online, Greg, who's my kind of AL guy, as it were, he and I were like, well, let's do a kind of dummy run of it, using that scenario from Tabletop Scotland. And it went okay as a dummy run. We learned a lot from it, because when you're physically in a room, it's very easy just to walk up to a table, interrupt them, and have that interactive moment. When you're online, you have to jump in between different voice channels and text channels and various other things to, make things happen and hope people are paying attention at the right time.
Because this is what I was going to say. It sounds so much harder to do online than it
does
in person.
I think the interactive bit is, and it was certainly the one of the things we thought would work that didn't work when we did the demo run was traditionally you have what's called a table captain at an interactive or epic event. So each table has a nominated representative who is there to pass messages between tables. Right, that's kind of part of their role at the table, as well as playing their character. Because for the demo we only had, we originally were planning to have 4 tables for it, but unfortunately one of our DMs pulled out. So we had to do it with less than that, and it was like, right, okay, we won't need table captains then. We'll just make that part of the DM's job. That was a mistake. Because the DMs were obviously running the game. Right. They didn't need to have that memory of, right, I now need to post this message in this channel so that the other tables know that something is happening. So we've obviously gone back to following the guidance, have a table captain. But the 2 we're running, one of them is, on the Sunday night, is Liar's Night, which is a Halloween-ish themed adventure from the Descent into Avernus storyline. So that's now what in AL terms is called historic, although I do believe on the 22nd of September, all the AL rules are being chucked in the bin, and they're basically going, do what you like, based on the draft that I've seen of the document. So we may actually have a lot more flexibility with who can play in that, which would be great. But that is, they're all invited to a masked ball, and that's almost part of the theme, which I'll come on to with the other one. They're invited to a masked ball where something happens. Naturally, it's something bad that happens because it's D&D and you have to do things.
Good things don't happen.
Well, and then the other one. Sorry, Josh, on you go.
I was just going to say, it is sometimes nice to have that one little bit of reprieve in the campaign where you have a session where nothing bad happens and you just go out and have a nice time.
That's not happened to you guys yet, though, has it? The Green Door. I wasn't going to mention it. No.
Not in Avernus Rising. No.
The clue's in the name, right?
Yeah. Hey, don't get me wrong. I kind of knew what I was signing up for when it's the whole campaign setting is you're going to hell.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not going to get a lot of downtime.
No, you're not. You're really not. The other one we're running is from the Mist Hunter storyline, which is the kind of the Adventures League storyline that runs in parallel to Van Ricken's Guide to Ravenloft. So that is... It's got a very different flavour to it. It's much less combat orientated. In fact, it is entirely possible to go through that entire epic without having one single fight happen, which is different, certainly for D&D, but it's also different, I think, from an epic perspective because it is entirely feasible that none of the tables can see combat. There are combat options, but it's more there to kind of do the social and exploration pillars of D&D. That's what they're trying to push with it. And that one there also has a masked ball in it. So I don't know if that was deliberate or subconscious by us. But yeah, that one's also got a masked ball in it, which is kind of cool. We've been very lucky as well that the AL community have given us pre-made maps for these, because at one point I thought I was going to have to make maps, and I was just like, I'll just go into this group and I'll ask, anybody got maps? Yes. Right. Okay, great. I don't need to do anything. Well, we didn't need to do anything for the epics. For other AL stuff, we've had to create the maps in the main, including one which Mark had to make, which was an isometric map in the PDF. And he was like, and it's like isometric in the sense it's like 7 layers coming down a central funnel. And he was like, how do I represent this? So he had a lot of fun, in inverted commas, doing that one. It looks great. It absolutely looks great what he's done. But I can just imagine the kind of, right, have I got that bit right? Have I got that bit right? So, but no, we as a team, we've kind of created a number of the maps for the other adventures we're running, because we want certainly for the AL, we want a kind of consistent experience for the players. Yeah. So that's one thing we've done. But other than AL, as you said, Josh, there's a whole raft of other things there. We have 9 Cthulhu adventures on the schedule, including one being run by my mate Chris, who also took part in that writing challenge called Pop Goes the Weasel. And we have quite a lot of Dungeon Crawls classics as well. So Goodman Games are one of our sponsors. That community came out in real force last year, and were hugely supportive of us. And this year, equally so. And Brendan LaSalle from Goodman Games is running 2 games for us, and as are a lot of other people from that community, which is just great. And Brendan, when he runs online, just does it over Zoom, doesn't use a dice roller, has real dice. And last year he wore a kilt when he ran his games, which was just a nice touch. Yes. But yeah, I mean, lots and lots of games on the schedule. Everything from, well, we've talked about D&D. There is one game of Pathfinder. It is, however, 2nd edition, Tom.
Is it all 5th edition D&D?
It is all 5e. There are a couple. So other than DCC, there's also, I'm going to forget the name of it, so I'm currently scrolling for it. Smithy of Sacrilege, which is an OSR basic D&D retro clone, which is running actually an old D&D scenario called Ghost Tower of Inverness,
Cool.
which is a very kind of classic D&D scenario, which isn't actually set in Scotland, even though it's called Ghost Tower of Inverness. And we've got games of Beowulf being run, which is the RPG from Handiwork, but being run by the author, one of the authors, Jacob Rogers. And yeah, we've got loads of stuff, plenty of sci-fi, quite a few kind of more on the indie spectrum, including a game of what's called Steel Nacht, so Silent Night, which is a GM-less game, and it's being run at 1 a.m. UK time. Because that's the thing, being an online con, you're not constrained by the hours of day of a venue, or indeed the physical space of a venue. So there are advantages in that you're able to say, well, as long as one of their team is happy to be awake at that point, and we haven't finalised our rota yet, but I think we know who it's going to be, Simon. Not our Simon, Josh, a different Simon.
Okay. Sorry, Simon.
But he did it last year, and he's happy to do it. Okay. So it's kind of one of these things.
He takes the night shift.
Yeah, exactly. He takes the night shift. So I think we've got 3 games on that slot just now, the 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Yeah, we do. A game of Cthulhu, a game of Cypher, and Steel Nacht, which just sounds really odd and not the sort of game I would default to, but I'm intrigued to see how it runs. So yeah, loads of stuff being run, and it's all the games are a $5, and Eventbrite are the kind of event ticketing host we're using this year. After all sorts of problems with the solution we had last year, decided to go, nope, let's use something that actually we know will work, and I can have less headaches about it.
Yeah.
And so once Eventbrite take their cut for the payment processing, all that money will go to the charity after the event. Once it's gone through the various hoops it needs to go through. And alongside that, I've mentioned a couple of sponsors. The others that we have, I think we've got 36 sponsors this year, which is about 12 more than we had last year. I'm not going to round them all off. They're all on the website, which I've just realised I haven't given you the address for. www.albacon.co.uk. That's Alba, A-L-B-A, con. It's not AlbaCon, it's AlbaCon. Although you'll now see it and think AlbaCon. But we've got a load of sponsors this year, and one of the ones, without singling any of them out, really, I'm about to single one of them out. D&D Beyond. I spoke to them. This must have been in June, maybe July, about it, because they sponsor 2 other cons that have mental health as kind of their main kind of charity angle. Jasper's Game Day, which is suicide prevention, and Save versus Fear. That's it. I knew it was somewhere in my head, which is actually organised by a group called the Badana Group, who are a kind of psychologically trained group of therapists who use role-playing games in therapy. And they organise a con. And D&D Beyond sponsor both of them. And I was like, well, I can only ask.
Yeah.
And they turned around and said yes. So they've given us, I think it's about $600-700 worth of D&D Beyond material to give away. So some of that will be given away at the weekend to attendees. We run giveaways throughout the weekend to everyone who comes. But we've got a raffle running just now on the website via a kind of custom raffle website called Raffall, which is an unusual name. Yes, but within that you can get. We've got 2 player bundles, which are about $100 worth of product, and the other one is a sourcebook bundle, which is about $400 and something worth of product. It's basically all the non-adventure books on D&D Beyond. You can get all of them, which is an amazing kind of thing for them to give us, since they don't know who we are. But
Well,
you
they
know,
do now.
but they do now, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's raffle tickets for that, which again are a fiver, and all that money. The good thing about the raffle service is that we don't touch that money at all.
Mm-hmm.
It goes straight from raffle to the charity, and because it's entirely for charity, raffle don't take a cut of that. It just goes
Terrific,
straight,
yeah. So
which is
that
great.
whole fiver is going.
It's
directly
guaranteed
to,
for
yeah.
the charity, and you
Yeah.
know, and we've decided to make that raffle run until till the Wednesday after the con, just so that you know, if people don't know about the con until the weekend itself, that's still there as something they can go and look at if they want to take part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could keep talking.
That's awesome, though. That's amazing. I just had a look there at the list of sponsors, and you've got some. I mean, they're all amazing, but some really, really big names on there as well, which is really good that they're all contributing towards it.
Yeah, and in a lot of respects, it's one of these kind of conversations where, in fact, this almost using the D&D Beyond conversation to start with, you can imagine that they get approached by streamers, podcasts, and people like that all the time asking for sponsorship. And by that, I mean actual sponsorship, i.e. potentially money or something like that. So a lot of these companies have a single kind of channel where you engage them. And it's very easy for you to get lost in that channel of, you know, yeah, I don't actually want any money from you. I'm running a charity event.
Yeah.
Is that of interest to you? And if it is, great. You know, what do you want to contribute to it? And it's very much you know, anything they can give us, where it's a discount code, where it's, you know, a single free PDF that they'll give to 10 people or 5 people. It doesn't really matter. It's about providing something that we can make available to our GMs as a thank you, and or to our attendees. As a thank you. So it's just being able to do something. But the list, it was very much one of these things, right? Okay, we did well last year with the 20 or so that we had, but I wanted to do better this year with the sponsors, and we've done pretty well. I'm quite pleased with it.
That's awesome.
I mean, D&D Beyond's a pretty big scalp, and on the subject of, you know, sponsorship, D&D Beyond, if you're out there listening, call me.
I can give you the email address if you want it. So
not even for sponsorship, just for a chat. He gets lonely.
Yeah. Oh wow! Tom did have, for the benefit of our listeners, Tom did have his head in his hands when I was saying that.
I think you can just assume that by default, Josh. If you're talking, I've probably got my head in my hands. I know what you're talking about, though, Dave. I've done conventions myself and stuff in the past, and it is a nightmare sometimes just getting someone to even get back to you. You know, just even to get so much as a no, sorry, we can't. So having to go through those channels with, you know, 30, 40 companies is impressive, and to get that kind of response as well is really good, especially for charity. I'm glad so many of them come back to you.
Yeah, it is one of these things where, I mean, there was a few who turned around and said they couldn't because and you can understand that these companies get asked by a lot of different people for a lot of different things, so they can only contribute so much.
Yeah.
And there was a few who couldn't for perfectly legitimate reasons. There were a few who didn't reply, and you know, and that's disappointing. But again, these are busy people who are themselves dealing with a situation that is unusual for them.
Yeah.
So it's trying to be kind when you're not getting that response, even if I'm getting frustrated about it.
Yeah, I get that.
So just as a reminder, Dave, when is AlbaCon happening, and where can you take part?
Yeah, so it's on the 2nd and 3rd of October, Saturday and Sunday. It runs from 10 a.m. on the Saturday to midnight on the Sunday. That's British summertime. We have helpful time clock converters on the website for you to work that out if you're not in that time zone. And all the information is on our website, which is www.albacon.co.uk.
Terrific. Excellent. Looking forward to it. Now, of course, as I mentioned at the start of the show, that is one of your many hats. The other hat that you've been wearing on this show previously has been Tabletop Scotland. So we've got dates confirmed for next year. All things going well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so next year, so it was one of these things where I think we knew about a month before we announced the dates what the dates were. But it was it was that kind of, right, let's just kick the tires on a couple of conversations before we go public on the dates.
Yes.
Let's just really just make sure that there's nothing that we have forgotten about that is happening on those dates, and things like that. So the 27th and 28th of August next year, which is the English bank holiday weekend, Tabletop Scotland will be returning to the Jura Centre in Perth, the entire building again, and that is exciting. And if nothing else, I'm looking forward to having a level of normality about things. I haven't played a board game since March last year, right? As an example.
Wow, yeah.
Right. Now, I fully expect I will between now and Tabletop Scotland.
Yes.
But it's the sort of thing that we're very keen to run an event that will feel normal. And it was one of the many reasons why we didn't do one. Why we made the decision we did last year. Ultimately, it was the right decision anyway because it wasn't possible. But we didn't want to run an event that didn't feel like a Tabletop Scotland event, frankly. And the plan at the moment is very much right now we're speaking to exhibitors who had previously committed to 2020 and indeed 2021 when we started that ball rolling, and it's very much once we've got those conversations bottomed out, we'll be able to start to make some announcements, and then we have about, I don't know how long the queue is, but we have quite a few people who have approached us since not just since announcement, but since UK Games Expo had their event, and various other people have been speaking to others, and we've got a queue of companies who are wanting to get on that list. So it's a good thing that people want to come, and we're very keen that people do come. One of the things that we did debate was whether, because originally we were going to have, if the pandemic hadn't happened, we would have been a 3-day event by now. We did debate that as a team about whether we make 2022 a 3-day event. And we decided against it. I hasten to add that was a vote of 3-1. I can name the one who wanted a 3-day event if you want, but Josh may be able to work that out from the fact that it's one of the people he plays D&D with.
Yeah, context. I think I know who it is.
But at the same time, it was more from the perspective of, right, we don't know what's going to happen between now and August next year, frankly, right? Vaccines being what they are and the pandemic continuing to evolve, it's the sort of thing that we would rather be confident about a 2-day event with an attendance that'll bring commercially, everything else, frankly, than risk a 3-day event, which would be a financial risk from our perspective. As well as would people come for 3 days post-pandemic? We don't know. But we might be able to do something on the Friday night. That's something we're still kind of chewing over as a group, and we need to speak to the venue about and various other things. But yeah, that's the plan. So tabletopscotland.co.uk is the website. It has the where it has the when it is, and it has information how to get in contact with us, and it's got a little bit about what we've done in the past. And I think the hope is that it goes ahead and it feels like we're back to normal by then.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is as well with when you're planning to have it, like tail end of summer next year, fingers crossed. We are in a space where it can just be a normal convention, as opposed to everyone, even if restrictions have been lifted, there's still an anxiety about going to these sort of events, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it would be nice.
None of us will have been in a crowd of that size, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I think there's that element of that readjustment back to normal and inverted commas is going to be interesting in itself. And certainly any conventions that I'm at between now and then will be, oh, this is a bit different. And that's just part of the challenge of it in some respects. We're very keen to get it to be as normal as possible, and we'll have the same sort of format that we had in previous years, with a couple of tweaks that we aren't quite ready to talk about, but obviously we'll be in touch. But we're very excited about it. We're very keen for it, as much for ourselves as we are for everybody else, if I'm honest.
I think that's fair.
We're very keen for the event to go ahead, because we love putting it on as a group. So yeah.
I think we're definitely looking forward to it. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And I think for me, definitely it'll be my first con that I go to post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's a good one to go back to, for sure, because it's got that familiarity and it's a bit close to home, which I said before is a blessing, not having to go, a couple of
down to
miles
Birmingham.
It is one of these things where I mean right now my kind of Facebook feed is full of people that I know that are going to a rescheduled Gen Con, right? And it's happening this weekend coming. In fact, well, technically it starts on Thursday, and that is not something that I would even be entertaining right now.
No.
Right. But
I mean,
but
for a start, it's a fraction of its normal size as well. So it's not a normal.
It is a fraction of its normal size, but by fraction, it's going to be
still big.
It's still 50 to 60% of what it was. But yeah, that in itself isn't something I would want to do. But right now, my calendar, my booked calendar, that is for conventions next year, is AirCon, Expo, Gen Con, and Tabletop Scotland. And it's kind of like, right, okay, I am hopeful that all of those events, including Tabletop Scotland, are things that I am comfortable being at, and that can go ahead with no issues. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Just gotta hope for the best. So.
Yeah.
All right, and I think on that note, I think that's all we've got time for. So, Dave, thank you very much for coming along this evening, and best of luck with AlbaCon and of course the planning for Tabletop Scotland when that gets underway. And on that note, thanks very much, guys, and take care.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.